Who are you yoking with? 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 through 15 says this, don't team up with those who are unbelievers. How can righteousness be a partner with wickedness? How can light live with darkness? What harmony can there be between Christ and the devil? How can a believer be a partner with an unbeliever? This phrase, team up, actually means unequally yoked, meaning referring to oxen. If you're going to plow a field to do work in the field, you would take two oxen and you'd put this big beam and you'd attach them together because two oxen can do more work than one, correct? But you wouldn't yoke an oxen with a chicken, and you wouldn't yoke an oxen with a goat. You would yoke an oxen with an oxen, right? That makes sense. And so what God's word is telling us here is be careful when you enter into relationships. Make sure that if you have a passionate desire to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, make sure that the person that you're going to join into a relationship with shares that passion. I hope you're hearing me because I'm telling you, I've seen many things in my 6 short years of pastoring, but if there's one thing that I've seen over and over and over and over and over again, it's been young people attaching themselves to people who don't share their faith and ultimately having to make a decision. Am I going to choose Jesus Christ, or am I going to choose this person who I'm having sex with and I'm emotionally tied to? Which one am I going to choose? And they ultimately, 9 times out of 10, they say, I'm really sorry. I appreciate you dying for me on the cross, but this guy is so hot, I gotta go this way. I'm being completely serious. That's true, and it happens all the time. You have to be careful with who you yoke with. If you're going to start a relationship, you better make really, 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 really sure that that person who you're going to start that relationship with, that they share the same principles and moral and biblical values that you do, because you don't want to find yourself so emotionally attached to someone, the next thing you know, you're forced to make decisions between, am I going to live out my faith passionately, or am I going to chase the desires of my flesh? That is a bad spot to be in. And that's why God's word says what it says, to keep us from experiencing that pain and that hardship. It's not a great place to be. If you say, maybe you're in a position where you say, well, Pastor Tim, it's really, really awesome. I wish that I would have known this before I got married, because now I find myself in a position to which I'm here and my spouse isn't, or I'm a believer and my spouse isn't, and it's a continual struggle. I want to tell you this, don't lose heart. Don't lose heart. This is one thing that's awesome about God's word. It's not about what's been done, it's about what you plan on doing. God is a God of new beginnings. God is a God of grace, and he can see you through your darkest times and your darkest hours. And I want to tell you this, 1 Corinthians 7:14 reads like this, for the Christian wife brings holiness to her marriage, and the Christian husband brings holiness to his marriage. Otherwise, your children would not be holy, but now they are holy. Whether you're a husband or you're a wife and you're in a situation in which your spouse does not share the same passion that you share in your walk with Jesus Christ, I want to give you just a few things. One, be prayerful. Be praying for your spouse. Number 2, be faithful. Be faithful in your walk with Jesus Christ. Do not be hypocritical. Do not be wavering. But walk in the word as God would have you walk. Don't bend. You just be faithful and you show your spouse the most awesome love and joy that Jesus Christ can produce, and allow him to use you as a light, to shine a light upon their hearts that would convict them, that ultimately would lead them to the foot of the cross. But do not bail. You stay the course. You be prayerful. You be prayerful for that individual, and you live it out the most you possibly can in your faith, so that one day, if God truly intervenes through your awesome testimony of faithfulness, you can see that spouse of yours turn to Jesus Christ, and you can experience what it is to have that awesome biblical marriage. I know that this is difficult because there's 1,000,001 probably different relationships that are active in our church, morning, PM, wherever across our congregation. But I wanted to, what's important for us to fully come to grips with is that God really does have a blueprint for our home. This really is homeland security, because if we don't get this right, we're going to continue to suffer. Nothing will change our homes. Nothing will change our communities like learning the blueprint. Something happens that when families in a community begin to really adopt the blueprint that God has for them, and they begin to become biblically structured, that home begins to shine a light, and that light begins to penetrate a community. And home after home after home after home, the local church thrives, because ultimately church really starts right there. It starts right there. And I want to encourage you as you leave tonight. I know that it's possible that you could leave tonight and leave either overwhelmed by what God's word says, or leave here incredibly encouraged, knowing that, man, if I can put these pieces together, if I can make application of this, I know that God's going to make this work. This is going to be incredible. I want to experience more of what God has for me. Guys, be godly men. Women, be godly women. Kids, be everything that God has you to be, and play your role inside of that godly home. But ultimately, we need to put him first. We need to follow his blueprint. This is what his plan is for our marriages and for our homes.